In this video, Darrell and I discuss whether or not AI will kill search engines as we know them. In particular, we're talking about Google here, the leader of the pack. Are they going to be impacted by the new tools coming out? And if you don't know who we are, Darrell and I were co-founders of a company called Realbase, which we recently sold for 180 million. I was CTO, Darrell was head of product. So let's jump into today's episode. So the question that came to my mind, and I've heard said many times before, is AI is going to kill search engines. Now, that comes from, things like people moving to OpenAI or Perplexity, tools like that. So wanted to hear what your thoughts were.
Yep. I actually saw a thing a couple of days ago about this where there were some massive numbers, like market share drop was reported by Google, but then like a week or two later, it came out that it was completely false. And I wondered if AI was spreading it. Like OpenAI is writing the article saying Google's market share has dropped to try and like self-fulfill their own prophecy of success. And I use Complexity. I really like it as a research tool. And for some reason, even though I highly value what comes out of it, I still always go to Google to find a thing. So like if I want a summary of a topic, I will go to Perplexity. But if I want to find something, I still go to Google.
Do you think that's because we're of an age? So like, you've heard about people, no, like real talk, like you heard of young kids using TikTok search engine or AI as their only way of finding information. Do you think that could be one of the reasons?
Yeah, 100%. There's like a familiarity for it, like yellow pages. Plenty of people would still use the yellow pages after the internet existed.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get left behind. I don't know.
So the reason that, why I got prompted with this in my mind was because I was sitting there and I was busy Googling restaurants. So where I think those other engines may not be as good, and I could be wrong, but it's where you want to look for something like, for instance, like I was looking for a vet as well. Like, so I was looking for a place. So I want to find a place. I want to find the reviews. I want to see photos of that thing. I want to know where the address is, what's the phone number, all those kind of things. I find that Google is really strong in that. I have yet to see a tool that is better, because people actually go into Google Places, they update their times. Like, there's a holiday coming up. Most people, Google will probably, hey, are you open at the right time? So that you can see it's got the, how busy something is. You can jump into Google Maps, like all of that kind of stuff. That's Google data. They've been collecting that data for a very, very, very long time. There's a lot of data there, which I just think AI, where are you going to get that? Like the people's websites don't even have that on there. Do you know what I mean? Like if you go to most restaurants' websites and you look at like what's the up-to-date menu, it's like uploaded 2 years ago as a PDF, whereas Google's got people reviewing it and then posting photos of the meal and everything like yesterday. So that's where I kind of went.
Realistically, everyone does just want someone else's opinion of it anyway.
Correct. So like that's where I'm like, does AI take that over? And if so, it basically needs to be searching Google to get the result. And that's where Google can step in.
That's the problem.
Yeah, it's like,
that's the exclusive content problem, right?
Yeah, so that leads straight into this whole thing about exclusive content, which is Reddit shutting down for only if you pay them. And it's hard. Like I find this like it's a massive copyright problem. Like if AI or like the big OpenAI companies and stuff without licenses, they do have licenses for Reddit. But if you don't have that license and you're just going and you're like scraping illegally, like what is the repercussion of that? Like,
well, it seems like no repercussions so far because everyone's been caught doing it and no one's been done. The funny thing for me about the Reddit one is that it's not even their content. It's user-generated content that they're saying that they're going to license to Google and then Google's going to use. How does that work? Like some person types, I really like this restaurant. It had this on the menu. And then Google says, no, Perplexity, you can't scrape that to make a good restaurant listing thing. How does that make any sense?
Yeah, it's all in the T's and C's, my man. It's all part of that. Well, we just click, I agree. So you agreed that anything you post on this platform is not your content, it's my content. And that's unlucky. So that's just life. That's a tool. If you're not paying for it, you are the product. So that's kind of the risk we take. And like when I accept all these things like Spotify, we want to go onto a podcast something and it says, do you accept terms and terms of T's and C's? And I'm like, yes, because
I read that, champ. Yep
like you've invested all that in money. Like if you decide to turn me off for saying the wrong thing, then that's your platform. You do whatever you want. Like I'll go have to post elsewhere. So yeah, back to that. Like, I think AI sits in an interesting place where it can know a lot of things, but also sometimes
Like it can build a good summary for what you're after. If you're like restaurants in suburb, it can scrape, find the website, so then it can go like as a bunch of agents chained together, it can get a really good result, but it has to have access to all the data. And most of the data that people care about are like opinions, user reviews, and not like a dodgy review website, real reviews like Google people that you can trust.
Yeah, and Google's taken that because that's an industry that like we wanted to play in many years ago as the restaurants and stuff. And Google just smashed everyone because they're like, well, when they search that, I'm just going to put my result right here, and millions of people are going to see it, and we're going to just put your one down the bottom, and they just got a monopoly. Like, and yeah, like for OpenAI to scrape Google, I don't know if you even can because Google isn't one of those. Like, you have to come up with a search for it to actually even give you the data. It's not like a sitemap you can go and scroll through.
Yeah.
So I think it's in a strong position. Google people are like, they haven't got a good tool right now, but I think they do have all the data. They have Android.
Yeah, they've got the data.
Yeah. So in the data's king, right? Especially to train all these things, you need data. They just need to train theirs better. They may be last to the party, but they will probably be best. You'll probably see because privacy does not mean anything to Google. They know that,
and they also have all of YouTube as well. So they have almost the entire planet's video content. One of the things I really like about Perplexity is that it also searches YouTube and then it must go through the transcript of the video and it pulls those things out, references them sources. I really like that. It would take 1 second for Google to say you can't do that anymore. You can't link to our videos.
Yep. So I guess when we talk about search engines, there's really only one that most people use is Google.
No, so come on, man. Bing, DuckDuckGo, give them a chance.
Use that all the time. So the question is really, will AI kill Google? And I think, and it should almost be rephrased, will competing AI companies kill Google AI? And I think the answer to that is probably no.
No, I mean they have the moat. Like they can spend tens of billions of dollars on competing AI tools every day of the week. So, I mean, how do you get above them for that? I think it was very very interesting at the start seeing how often I went to ChatGPT to get my answers done, but I think the LLM model thing might also just be sort of tapering off in interest and people will just revert back to old habits and Google will add a bit of AI summary. Like I like the way AI can just summarize a whole bunch of stuff and I can read that. But why would anyone be able to do it when I already go to Google? Like there's a lot of value in Google that isn't the money they make. If they stop making money overnight and people stop going there, they have a brand and they have familiarity and they have people's habits of going there. There's a lot of value in that and there's a good reason for that. It's because people will go there. So if something comes along that's even better than Perplexity and it does something better, all they do is either buy it or create the same thing at the place that people already go.
Yep. And I think the biggest caveat to all of this, and from what our opinions are, is just the generational thing. It could be that we're seeing this really just from our own eyes, whereas the young kids don't even know what Google is and don't care. And they're just going to get fed whatever TikTok says. And if TikTok says it's right, then it's right. And it may not be right, but that's what's right. So it'll be interesting to watch this play out.
I think it's also strong for people making videos, as long as we can tell they're people and not AI, is like when every search platform has all the same stuff. People talking about the things is what everyone's going to care about because you're not going to trust AI results ever.
I'm still saying that one day we're not even going to we're going to create a new internet where we're just networking, run a cable to your mates.
It's like, I saw something the other day that was like, it was the way corporate structures were laid out is very similar to how like node patterns would have to happen in AI. And the theory was that AI went back in time and is structuring everything to be like AI so that AI can do everything later. Like the neural networking stuff. It's like everything is structured like a neural network because AI went back in time and changed the timeline for it.
You can catch me on my farm. I'll see you there.
With your AI-driven tractor. It's going to be easy to farm when the robots are the ones wrestling the cattle.